Welcome. We're joined by David Phillips, Director of Peacebuilding and Human Rights at the Institute for the Study of Human Rights at the University of Columbia. David, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
So you've been quoted as saying Erdogan sees himself as the caliph of the Muslim world. But Recep Tayyip Erdogan had made conciliatory remarks about the Armenian genocide as late as 2015. And the Erdogan of the early 2000s seems to be completely different from the Erdogan of 2020. What has happened in the late 2010s in Turkey and to Turkish politics, which is led now by Recep Tayyip Erdogan?
We were willfully ignorant about Tayyip Erdogan. We thought he was a Democrat. We thought he was secular. He made clear after the election of 2002, quote, democracy is like a streetcar. You get off when you reach your destination. He was put in jail for a speech he made in Siirt, in which he said that the faithful are our foot soldiers, the minarets are our bayonets, and the domes are our helmets. And he spent several months in jail for inciting religious hatred. We wanted to get rid of calcified politics in Turkey, so we welcomed the Justice and Development Party. Unfortunately, we've discovered that Tayyip Erdogan is a fraud. And he's made very clear what his intentions are when it comes to Armenians. He said just recently that we will finish off what our grandfathers didn't do. So let's be steely-eyed and face reality. Erdogan is a genocidal murderer. He should be tried at an international court. The U.S. should rethink its relations with Turkey. It's time to see things as they are, not as we wish they were.
I'm also going to read another one of your quotes. You said the following: NATO is more than a security alliance. It is a coalition of countries with shared values. Turkey under Erdogan's dictatorship is Islamist, anti-American, and an abuser of human rights. If Turkey applied for NATO membership today, its application would be dismissed. Yet yesterday, the British Foreign Minister, the Secretary General of NATO, Jens Stoltenberg, have called Turkey an integral part of NATO. Could you explain this paradox?
They should drop the dogma and they should start seeing things as they are. Turkey spent billions of dollars to purchase S-400 surface-to-air missiles from Russia. Under U.S. law, the Countering American Adversaries Through Sanctions Act, the U.S. was required to impose sanctions. This kind of groupthink that goes on in Brussels at NATO headquarters, that Turkey is somehow indispensable, is completely ludicrous. It's ill-informed, and it undermines our security and our strategic interests.
Well, I'm interested, you say that all the hallmarks were there from the beginning, but do you think there was anything in terms of geopolitics that emboldened Turkey? For example, a non-interventionist Trump administration, Arab-Iranian tensions, or even the rise of the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria?
So I think we can look at the chemical weapons attacks in Ghouta in 2013 as a turning point. The Obama administration had drawn a red line. Erdogan expected that when sarin and mustard gas was used on civilians, that the U.S. would intervene militarily. After all, more than 1,000 civilians were killed and more than 400 children perished that day in the Damascus suburbs. When Erdogan understood that the U.S. was not going to intervene, he took it on himself. Turkey's National Intelligence Agency established a jihadi highway from Sanliurfa to Raqqa. It provided weapons, logistical support, and financing to Islamist terrorists from around the world. At least 40,000 of them transited through Turkey to the front lines in Syria. They came from as many as 100 countries, and they were aided and abetted by Turkey. This wasn't a passive relationship. Turkey was an active partner in the terrorist enterprise. And that's because the Justice and Development Party and ISIS are cut from the same cloth. They are one and the same. When the Deputy Prime Minister of Turkey says that women shouldn't smile in public or draw attention to themselves, you would expect that kind of statement from Baghdadi or some other ISIS leader, not from a member of NATO and someone who professes to be pro-Western and part of Western and Euro-Atlantic institutions.
Some have said that Democratic nominee, Vice President Joe Biden, has in the past taken a more strong, more harsh tone towards Erdogan of Turkey. Do you think that a Biden presidency could flip the balance and change the structures of power going on in the East?
So we shouldn't speculate what a Biden presidency will do. We can affirm, however, that one of the first things a Biden presidency will do is to conduct an interagency analysis and review of U.S. policy in that region and specifically towards Turkey. And based on the interagency review, the Biden administration will develop a new approach. And I can assure you it's going to be more principled and more pragmatic than the sellout we've seen by President Trump. And by the way, NBC released a report yesterday about Trump's business ties in Turkey, that the Trump organization has interest in 119 companies. The Trump was paid more than $10 million in licensing fees, that Azerbaijani oligarchs similarly paid millions of dollars. This isn't how U.S. foreign policy should be made. It should be conducted with integrity based on our national interests, not on the Trump organization's financial interest.
Well, Turkey has intervened in Syria, in Libya, and now in Nagorno-Karabakh. In your opinion, what will it take for the West to say to Turkey that a red line has been crossed?
Not only has Turkey intervened, it's providing drones to Azerbaijan, and those drones are responsible for many hundreds of deaths. It's also brought several thousand jihadists from Syria and Libya to the front lines in Nagorno-Karabakh. They are apparently being paid $1,500 each month. The fact that Turkey is exporting terror is reprehensible. And it's something that the U.S. shouldn't turn a blind eye to, nor should NATO turn a blind eye. We should react when there are atrocities, particularly when Islamist extremists are killing people.
And Turkey's relationship with Russia has been through a lot of ups and downs in recent years, from moments of what it would seem confrontation to rapprochement. How does Russia play into this? Do you think that, for example, in terms of the Karabakh War and Turkey's interventions in Syria and Libya, that it's more likely ultimately for Russia to confront Erdogan rather than the West?
So let's be clear about Russia's role here. It's been selling weapons to Armenia and Azerbaijan. It's hardly a principled player. It plays an important role through the Minsk group as a part of the international mediation team. Although when Foreign Minister Lavrov summoned the foreign ministers from Armenia and Azerbaijan to Moscow and conducted 8 hours of negotiations, they announced a ceasefire, which was broken almost immediately. Turkey is deliberately undermining the ceasefire. It wants a solution on the battlefield. It wants to support a policy of ethnic cleansing. Similarly, when Emmanuel Macron negotiated a ceasefire, it was broken by Azerbaijan in a matter of minutes. When the foreign ministers from Armenia and Azerbaijan come to Washington, let's hope that the U.S. applies a little bit more strong-arm tactic. Peace is critical if we want to stop the killing and stabilize the region. Otherwise, we risk a real conflagration that engulfs countries on the front lines, not only Russia and Turkey, who have crossed swords before in northwestern Syria, but also Iran, which has said that it won't abide by the kind of killing and genocide that's going on. So we find ourselves in the middle of a very dirty storm. It's important that the U.S. exert itself to solve the problem, not just to negotiate an agreement, but to monitor and enforce an agreement with Security Council backing.
Well, David, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us on CivilNet.